Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Hello, Amy. I'm so excited. It is good to be here. We've got a few familiar faces and a few new faces, which is awesome. So I was just having a look at. We've already had a bunch of questions come through, which is awesome. So if you are not familiar, to be able to post questions for this time we have together, you'll find on the dashboard that you came through, there's a ask a question. If you post your questions there, then I can work through those systematically and not get lost in the chat. I do not have a stand-in for Heather. It's not possible. Heather is totally unique, and no one can replace her. And so, hopefully, she's got her university commitment right now, which is unfortunate. But she jumps into the support tickets, and she's there before and after these as well. And so, often she's the one that's answering your emails at help@obv.io. Together with me and Blue and James and a few others, we dive in there and help out with those questions and concerns that you might have. All right. So this is the state of play. Generally, the way that we try to work this is that we will take 3 categories of questions is how it's started to happen. And that is, the first category is really about Obvio questions, very specifically about how to use Obvio, you might be messing around with a particular function, or, what does this thing do, or whatever it is. Any question goes. It doesn't matter if you feel like it's an entry level question or an advanced level question. These calls don't build on one another. So we just, whatever question comes, we're happy to take. So that's the first category. The second one is often just extends into sort of Zoom, online events, the way that you're structuring your event, things like that. And then, of course, we inevitably get into sort of tech questions and production questions, and we sort of leave those for the end of our call. And so we try to allocate a couple of hours. Sometimes it's a little bit over, sometimes it's a bit less, but that's the time that we have today. So feel free to chat away in the chat. I am running solo, and so I may miss some of that, and so I'll try to keep an eye on it, but I don't miss the questions because we have a system to manage those. So if you go to the dashboard, put your questions in there, then I won't lose them. I'll try to somewhat sort them as I go as well, so we'll be reading those. All right. So if we're happy, we're going to get straight into some questions. So I've got one from Esther, said, where can I find the template to use for designing my event website? Is Esther with us? Don't think so. All right. So I'm just going to tackle this as best as I think we can. So when we first set up an event, we have the option to choose the template, the design template for that dashboard. There's several ones to choose from. When you click on that, let me just do that quickly, and I'll remind people that may have missed it that last week I actually did sort of a 45-minute walkthrough of every sort of function, every one of the buttons that are down the side of the Obvio menu, and just talk through it all. And that was kind of a quick start, I guess, quick being 45 minutes, that you can watch through and just get an idea of what everything is. Of course, then you can go deeper with those onboarding videos that Blue has that you can access from the dashboard as well, and you'll be able to go into a deep dive into each one of the functions that we have. But I decided to do that sort of 45-minute walkthrough as just a This is the lay of the land. This is how Obvio works. And so you can go back to the last week's recording, and I have already cut that 45 minutes out as a separate video. I just haven't posted it anywhere. So I'll post that, and then you'll be able to access that a little easier. What I'll do is I'll also post that as a separate post in the Facebook group, to make it really easy for you to find. So if you're not in the Facebook group, then join that too. That's the Obvio Facebook group, and that's where you can get some support from us where the team is in there. But often we also have people that are very familiar with Obvio, that will probably dive in and answer the questions. People like Muddy, even when he is working on his deck at his lake house, he's still able to answer questions and jump on Obvio. Looking good, mate. Looking good. Jack of all trades. Master of all trades, maybe. He probably is. All right, I've gotten off track. So I'm going to just show very quickly the theme selector. Stand by for that. And set this up. We talk about not taking your own show. And this is just a really good reminder for you. Why not to take your own show? Because there's things to do. And you can't host and tech and get all the content ready all at the same time. But that's okay. This is not really a show. This is just a little hangout for us to explore Obvio together. It's great to see you all. If you've just joined us, then please post any questions that you might have in using the button on the dashboard, ask a question. Okay, now I can I've got a little a little screen I've been playing with that shows me the people that are online and some of the details. Hey Tony, Tony's in Perth. So that's awesome. So I saw you on TVE, and then you've signed up to Leap. Congratulations, well done. That's awesome. We'll see you more then. It's early there. You're doing well. All right. Yeah, I've got too many screens that I'm playing around with now. I'm a little bit excited. All right, I'm going to show you the creating an event. And we'll get through this question quickly. So this was, when you first start an event, you set up these details. I like that Adelaide has its own time zone. It's nice for me. All right, I'm just getting so that we can get this created. So this is starting that new event. It creates the event, so now I can see it here. I open that, and the first thing it's going to ask is to pick a theme. So each theme you can select, and you can choose whether it's an empty template, literally just sort of blank and ready for you to create however you would like, or you can start with demo sample data. And I would suggest that one of the things to remember is that you can totally have as many events as you want, your unlimited events. So there's no reason why you can't go and create 6 different events as demo events for you to play around with. And you could do that with sample data, or you could do another one without sample data. But this is how you get going. And so, Esther, I hope I'm answering your question here, which is that how to do it is really choose one of those themes, possibly choose that you have demo data so that when you look at it, you're actually seeing some buttons and you're seeing some content, some logos or backgrounds. You've got a sample blog there. So there's all this sort of data that's all in there that gives you an idea of sort of the different areas that there is. So that's how I would suggest that you play around with that. Cool, cool. I will move on to the next question. Muddy is saying using points to encourage engagement in LVO events is awesome. However, in the past, I've had to remember to turn off points at the end of the event. Is there a way to automatically turn off points as at a predetermined time? There is not currently, but it is something that we've been talking about. I'm going to make that note again to make sure that we've got that. One of the things with that, we're talking about the point system. For quite a while, we resisted locking things down to time, and it's a philosophy of our online events should not be restricted by time or space. So we come from in-person events where we're like, we have to have our lunch time, lunch break at this time because the banquet staff have got all our lunches sitting out there. We can't possibly run over. We have to get out of this room because they've got a dinner coming in, or whatever it is, right? We're used to in-person events being restricted by space and by time. And one of the huge advantages of what we do with online events is not having that. And actually, I've seen events now that have done some tricks where they tell people that this will run till 5 o'clock. Your event day runs till 5 o'clock. And then partway through that day, they say, do you know what? We're going so well here, but we really want to squeeze in a bit more content for you. Would you be okay if we were to push out to 6 o'clock? And of course, this just does this little mind trick for people where it's like, yes, yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. Like we want to keep this going. We want to learn that little bit more. And it just pulls this extra engagement. So I say all of that, not to defend the fact that we don't have an auto time off for points, but just to flag that some of these things you don't want to lock down and say that this is going to happen at exactly this time, because you might run over, and it's okay. And I think we've all been in events, particularly online events, where the presenters have just gone in a slightly different way, or a question has taken it in a slightly different way, and everyone really enjoys that journey. It's actually something that Blue and Barry do really well at TVE. You'll see that things can kind of breathe a little bit, and it's like, actually that session just went for an extra 20 minutes because it needed to. Today, that's where that needed to go. And there was another session where it went a bit shorter, and so restricting yourself by setting up a bunch of times for things to appear or to disappear or things like that on the dashboard may get offset, and it may restrict you unnecessarily. And that was our resistance to putting timed events and things and doing that, but we have. And I think it's just where you use it. And so, for example, a great use case for a blog post to have it appear at a particular time is to say, day 2, I want this to come on at 5 a.m. or whatever it is. I want this to appear automatically. And that's just something that is not heavily timed to a specific, 1 minute, thing, but it works great for, okay, day 2 it appears, and you might want something to disappear that was specifically just for day 1. It might have been an offer or something, and you just want that to disappear at midnight. So that's where we get into those time things. anyway, the question was specifically about points, Muddy, and I take the point that there could be a time where no matter what your program is doing, you say that at 5 o'clock points stop, even if your program is a bit flexible. So that'll go on the list. Points, cool, cool. I tell you what I'll do with each one of these questions. Okay. Michelle's trying to jump the queue. She has to leave. So let me talk. I can do that, Michelle. So she's got a fast pass and got her question in. So, what size and resolution do I need for the header banner? All right. So here's the thing on the graphics and images. We haven't specifically said resolutions because generally what is more important is the aspect ratio. And so when it comes to banners, what you'll find is that the uploader has its own editor in it, and so you can crop, you can do all of that within Obvio. And then you'll see, because all of our dashboards are responsive, the way that it expands and contracts with the size of the window is sort of more important, the way that works, than saying that the resolution needs to be this. So I can still say to you though that we generally work with something that's like 2000 pixels wide. And I'm not telling you what height that needs to be because that'll depend on your content. But if you work with something like that, that's a decent size image. You can upload it, you can then crop it, you can see how it works within each individual design because it'll be different. So play around more with the ratio of the shape of your images more so than the locking it down to a specific resolution of width and height. So hopefully that's helpful. But if you play around with that at 2000 wide, generally we're still playing to people that have a screen width of 1920 by 1080, something like that. Yeah, and so going wider. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So play around with that. Now, something else I will just mention, nice work. Something I will mention is that one of the other things, let's see if I've got an example. In lots of places, what we have is a logo and then a background. And what's really helpful for that, so you can have hero images, and you can have logos and backgrounds. What's really cool to do in the way that we've designed it is to have your logo as a separate transparent logo, as a separate image, and then have your background as a separate image. And what that will do then is the logo will be restrained and will always display everything, and the background might crop as it drags out depending on screen size. It might cut off the sides, or because it's maintaining it across and filling the space rather than trying to just constrain the whole image. It'll just keep filling out that space. And so you'll see that in lots of designs. Let me think. I'm trying to think if the TVE one had that. I think it might have. Let's have a look. You get an example of this. And so then you start to think about how you create your assets in a slightly different way, where you're thinking about layers. Just trying to think if this, it's not not this one on. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, let me just show you this. So here's an example in Blue and Barry's event, the TVE. See this logo? you can see that that's literally just text and on a transparent background. And the background here will totally change. See that? See what the background's doing? It's totally changing based on the size of the width really of the space that the screen size is showing. And so in that example, you wouldn't want to use the background where you had text over here. Generally, we try to avoid having text on the backgrounds at all, because we know that it could get cropped off and it might not be centered, but our logo will always sit here and it will always be seen. All of it will always be seen. So that's an example. So that's the type of things that if you are working with a designer, that you can totally give that direction. Don't give me an image that has it all included. Give me a separate background, and then give me logo or text or things that needs to sit on top of that as a separate transparent PNG file with transparent background, so that then it'll sit on top and work really well. And that also works well. That also works well on mobile. You know, when you go right down like this, you can see how it looks on mobile device. Logo looks great. The background is still in there. You're just not seeing quite as much of it, but it's still there. Cool. Great. You are free to go, Michelle. Thank you for coming, as you were. Make sure you hand in your FastPass card so you don't use that again. All right. I will double check chat for any questions related to. Yeah, okay. What was the answer to resolution? So generally, 2000 wide. Play around with that, but really try some different. It's all about aspect ratio, really. There's less about, it needs to be this height, because every one of our designs is very different. And so you just need to play around with it. But that layering idea I was just showing is really important. That can make it work really well. And it feels more dynamic too, right? When your background is moving slightly differently than your logo sitting on top. Logo will always stay the same. Backgrounds will crop and do all sorts of things based on trying to fill the space. So that won't ever constrain the background. It'll always blow out. But your logo will always be constrained and will always show it completely. So yeah, the best thing is to play with it. You can't really go wrong. So, all right, let me do this. Back to that one. One. Okay. Hey, Robbie. Any changes for the Obvio messaging on the horizon with broadcast emails and SMS? I know email rules are enforcing SPF DKIM rules, but Obvio seems to be sending from one domain. Has a reply to email you can set. Correct. Yeah. So the reason that we've done this is that we're trying to maintain a good reputation for the emails that we're sending out, that all go out from no reply at obv.io. So they're technically being sent from no reply, but the reply to address is what you can set in your organization settings. So organization setting, which is where your event sits. Above that is your organization setting. You go to that and you can put in any email that you like, as long as you can receive an email to that to verify that you own it or that you're receiving it. Then that will become an option to send from. At least the reply to address is what's set to. So we generally find that our reputation is good because we have a great open rate. We have a great we have very low complaints and things against our emails, because generally people have signed up or they've registered for the event and they're looking for this email and they want it. So that's a word of warning for people too, that some people might take their whole list, import that into Obvio, and and kind of spam out to everyone in their whole list every time they run an event, and say this is your unique link to join the event, and they didn't ever really want to necessarily for that specific event. And we purposely, these are what are called transactional emails, and so because we believe that they are a transaction that people have signed up for to come to your event. So you can't unsubscribe at the moment. We're still sort of thinking through this. But you can't unsubscribe from these emails because we need to get them through. You've signed up for the event, you need to get these emails. So while there's nothing actually stopping you from importing a 10,000 person list, while you're only expecting a couple of hundred to show up to your event, and you could send all those emails out, that's not good for you. It's not good for your event, and it's not good for Obvio if you start using that the Obvio email to be blasting out like that. So, Robbie, you know a lot about this stuff. Did you have any follow-up questions on that?
No, any updates around broadcast features for text messaging? I know that was something we used at our last event. We had it enabled and it was new, so it worked well. It was definitely a lot of saving and having a different system to upload a list of phone numbers and then schedule in a different system. So that was a pretty good experience.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, things that are kind of on our roadmap are more kind of tracking and statistics on that, like being able to see open rate, or being able to see exactly how many were sent out, that this person has received these emails or things like that. That's the stuff that we would really like to get to, is more tracking of individuals, not in a creepy way, but that you can actually see that this person has logged into the dashboard, and then they went into Zoom, and they received this email, and they opened that, and they clicked that, and that got them into the dashboard, and they got this text message, things like that. That's just really helpful data, down to the individual, when you might be troubleshooting something, or trying to be sure that these emails have gone out, or text messages, because you're kind of a bit blind at the moment. You're sort of watching it, and it's scheduled, and I think it's going to go, and I'm just kind of crossing my fingers, and okay, I got mine. I guess that everyone else got theirs. So we want to have a bit more kind of data on that to be more confident. So that's happening soon. So, but I'm glad you're having a good experience. It really, we're never going to try to compete with MailChimp or Keep, or all the CRMs that handle email. That's not what this was about. It was basic entry level. You're doing a straightforward, simple event, and you just need to get your emails out and get everyone their magic links in the easiest way possible. If your event's scaling to hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people, you're likely going to find better features that are better suited to you by using an integration, which is why we have integrated into 6 different things, as well as things like Zapier and stuff. So just knowing where you're at, as far as the sort of functions that you need. So we're just keeping in that entry level space, so that you can do everything you need to on Obvio. And once you grow, you might find a whole bunch of other tools that you want to use with a full CRM. Cool, cool. Um, cat, cat slipping a little question in there that's not related to what we're talking about. That was sneaky. You can. Do you want to put that in the ask a question thing, and I'll get to that. Nice. Um, Esther, does this mean we can build our email list on obviously on Obvio? You're good. You're good. Um, no. So I guess the point is what we have is a way of emailing your attendees, and so really it's not designed to build a list. It is designed for your attendees for an event, and so that's what. And I know that when you're starting, your list might be just the people that you had that came to your event, and that might be the start. You just need to be careful about how you message people. So say you got 20 people to show up to your first event, and that's your attendee list. When it comes to your next event, um, ideally you're not sending that attendee list that came to your first event. You're not sending login links to the next event to those people unless they are expecting that. Um, and so that's where you would manage your list in a CRM, where people are able to unsubscribe and you can send newsletters and you can do all that. That's not what our broadcast feature is for. Our broadcast feature is specifically for getting people their login link to be able to access the event. That's what it's about. Yeah. And so and it's reminders, hey, day 2 is about to start, come join the breakout room here, whatever it is. It could be multiple events that multiple emails that you're sending out for your event, but it's specifically event based. Yeah. Cool. Miriam, adding the number of people attending. Do you have to use the cursor to create the number? Can you just write the total? Just looking at this platform. Miriam, you with us? Maybe not.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
you are. I can. Hey there.
Okay. I don't have my camera on because I'm waiting to get my car fixed. There we go.
Oh, good. No worries.
Hello.
Hello,
Um,
everyone. Look at that. That's great.
hello. Great to be here again. Yeah, I was just in the back end this today, and uh, when it says it's asking you on the back end how many attendees you're going to have. And on the right hand side, there's the little cursor that goes up and down, and you have to choose the total number. You can't just put in a number there. Like, what if I have
You
like
can.
200? Oh, you can?
You
Because
can,
it didn't seem to work for me. I was like, what the heck?
yeah. Yeah, actually, you might have seen. So first of all, that number is really just an indicator to our team that if you
Mm-hmm.
put in 10,000 or 20,000 or something, then that will flag with us that we might need some more virtual chairs to put out.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so so don't stress if you put in 50 and you end up with 300 people, then that's totally fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's
Thank you.
not a big deal. But yes, you can definitely let me go here. Um, you can definitely click in the field and then just type in whatever number you want.
I'm, a,
It just happens to
I'm
be a
about,
number field.
okay. I'm about to lose power on my computer on top. Tech issues, man. They just never stop, right?
Yeah,
Thank
turns
you.
out turns out power is pretty important for what we do. So
Oh, she's
yeah,
gonna plug it in. Okay.
you
I
can
had,
have a go.
right. Yeah, I mean, those were just, and then I asked you a couple of other questions. I don't know if you're going to get to those right away or if it's another section. So,
Well, let's have a look. I'd hate
because
you. I'd hate you to lose power and we not be able to answer those. Let's have a look. All right. By adding someone to your team, do they have access to the teaching videos for Obvio? Uh, so the best way to do that is anyone can really join this update event, and so let me put this in, which is update Obvio sign up. So rather than if they don't need to have access to your team backend, and they just need to have an understanding of how sort of Obvio works, then you can just send them this link that is in the chat. They'll just put in their first name, last name, email, and now they'll go to the dashboard and they'll have those links to all the videos, and they'll see the YouTube video playlist as well of all these recordings.
Because
And
I
so
have a set person who's probably going to help to facilitate all of that.
okay, great. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that'll be a great way to get them access, and they can come back to these calls as well, and you know anyone's welcome for that. Anyone that's using Obvio. So, and then as far as the team goes, you can choose those roles and you determine what they can have access to, and then you assign that role to that person, and then away it goes. So that's how that works. And it's great to have team that you distribute those responsibilities out is really good, no matter the size of your event. And one more, when you're in the back end creating the event, how do I see a preview easily of what you're creating? Yeah. Okay, two things. Let me show you. Go to here.
I mean, I sat there for like 15 minutes trying to figure out how to get to a preview of it.
Well, the thing is, no time is ever wasted when you're doing that. You learnt all the ways about how not to do it. So right at the top here is a preview toggle, right? So right at the top of the dashboard editor, there's a preview, and that will show roughly, look at that. That will show roughly how...
Sorry, can you show me one more time? Because I'm not seeing it, man. Like...
Right up the top,
Oh.
you might... Yeah, can you see that?
Wait, can you see that? Yeah. Sometimes the silliest things can catch you for, a while.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Of course, yeah, and you don't know what you don't know, and so sometimes it can be overwhelming looking at the interface, and you don't see the forest for the trees. So it's all right.
Thank you.
So here it is,
Super.
the preview. Now that's one way of previewing, and that's going to give you a basic preview of what you can see how we've got some countdowns that are not enabled, so they don't show, right? So it's really giving you an idea of what would you see. But the ultimate way of testing is to go and look at it as an attendee, right? So I can open an attendee. There's that little button, and it's going to now show me the dashboard as that attendee. And so when you're starting and you may not have any attendees in your list, you just enter one, put one in, and put a test attendee in, and then open the dashboard, and now you can see it exactly. This is I've just logged in as that person.
Super.
And that's how you can be really sure about how everything works. Because that's another thing to mention, is that when you're on the dashboard editor, clicking some of those buttons are not going to do anything, or they might do something weird where they might log you out or things like that. So it's not to be able to test the intended function of it in the end. So the best way to test that is to log in as a user and do it that way. And the more you get used to that, you might have some customizations in your dashboard that only show this button for these people that are tagged like this. So now you have a couple of different attendee types, one with this tag and one with this tag, and now I'm going to open multiple browsers and I'm going to see what the experience is for each one of those people with the different tags. So that's the best way to do that.
That'll be next week's questions. Thank you.
Sure, no worries. And that's why we meet every week. I think that was all your questions. Yeah, it is. Cool. All right, let me see. All right, Steve. Hey, Steve, can we integrate Obvio with high level If so, how do you integrate them together? And what are some of the capabilities we can do with the integrations? Yeah. So yes, high level is built in. Is a integration that we have built directly. So if we were to look at attendees and services, you'll see here that high level is there. And so I've gone to attendees, services, high level. So now you can you'll do a whole authorization process or log you into high level, and you'll go through a process. Now, generally, the basic understanding of how all of our integrations work is that what we want to be able to do is get attendees from your CRM into Obvio. We want to synchronize tags. So tags that you have in your CRM, we want them to come over. And we want to create our Obvio magic link and push that back into your CRM as a custom field. That's the general overview of what we do with all our integrations, because then that gives us the ability, several things. That means that now you can send all of your attendees their emails directly from high level or any of the other ones with the magic link in it. So now you can schedule all of your emails, do all of your emailing out of high level, and you can say our event starts in a day. You know, here's your here's your link to go straight to the dashboard, or our event starts in 5 minutes, or an hour, or whatever it is, and say here's the link. So as well as you may have sold more complex things for your events where there might be some different levels, and you've got your VIPs, for example. Your VIPs would be tagged in high level, and you want those VIPs to be clear in Obvio so that you can customize your dashboard for those VIP users. And so those tags will link across. And now in Obvio, you can then set this button to only appear for VIPs, or that you want a totally separate Zoom meeting for your VIPs, so that all your VIPs only go into a separate Zoom area. So they're the sorts of things that you can do when you're integrating between, and that's really the basics of it. I won't go right into specifics of high level right now, in that we have got in those in the onboarding videos, Blue does talk about high level and some specifics of setting up the tags and the custom fields. So you'll be able to find that about how we do high level. But having an understanding of what it's able to do, what you're trying to achieve, is really key. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Grant, thank you so much. And if I can ask a follow-up question on high level.
Of course.
So I'm actually not using high level directly. I am using a white labeled high level agency.
Yep.
So my account is their sub account. So how do I link to that?
So I have heard. I haven't had experience of this myself, but Blue has, and the way that those white level sub accounts work is the same. That you can still authorize. Yeah, Muddy, nothing to add on that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Essentially, when you log in from Obvio to high level, you are logging in as a sub account. So it doesn't matter if you have a sub account under any agency, it all works exactly the same.
Oh, okay. So I can still log into. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Martin, for the message.
Yeah.
So I guess I can still, even though I don't have a direct account with high level, I can still just provide my login credentials. It will still.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Correct. Yep, and that'll be fine. That'll create the link, and then it starts syncing. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yes, of course. Okay. back. And then it looks like Stevie had another one. Would you be able to use the music that Blue and Barry used at TVE Leap events in Obvio? Recalling Blue might have mentioned in the past that they have purchased the licensing rights to use certain music in virtual events hosted on Obvio. Do we have access to those music? So music licensing and copyright licensing is highly complex, and it's not one that I'm going to give you legal advice on, because it is just a real mess, and it's not clear as to whether, when we're doing these like when we're this event right now that we're running here with 34 people, is this a public performance? I don't know, right? Because that's really what we're talking about. We start playing. I can open Spotify and I start playing music out. Well, that's not, the Spotify licensing is not for that. It's for personal listening. It's not for listening in parties or groups or public performances or public performance of that content. So it's like, I can tell you what the problems are with music licensing. I can't tell you what the solutions are and how we get around it at this point. What I have explored is that there is some licensing I was just looking at this the other day. This is the other thing, is countries as well, right? Like, it's incredibly complex. You could do something. I'm pretty sure I found something with ASCAP. Anyway, you can find some things. What I was getting at was, like, I want to cover myself, for at least with some licensing arrangement, that I have some sort of licensing. So I guess I can tell you what you can do right now and have no problems with that is using royalty-free music, right? And there's some great stuff around. What's that? Endemic.
Epidemic Sounds.
Epidemic
Sound.
Thank you. Epidemic Sound. I use that all the time. You can get some really great tracks. I'm getting very hot in here. Hang on one second. Alexa, heater on.
Okay.
It's not a heater. It's the heater in winter, but it's the same switch that works for the AC. So I use Epidemic Sound and have got some great tracks and was able to go through. We did this before an event where I was like, I just want I want a video with 2 hours of music. And so I just sat down for an hour or so and just listened to a bunch of music, got a whole heap of them that I really liked, and then exported them all and made this long background music track that I really like, and it's all royalty free. And the advantage with that too is that with Epidemic Sound, you can put in your YouTube channel specifically. You tie your YouTube channel to it, and you now won't get any content copyright strikes or anything. And so that's something to think about as well, right? As much as you want to use the pop music and known music, if you go to YouTube with that, or Facebook, or any of that appears somewhere else, then it's just a massive problem. Whereas if you go royalty free right from the start, your content's going to be fine, and you'll have no issues with that. So you might have been sort of getting to what Blue and Barry have done with TVE, and if they have something that works across all of Obvio, and absolutely not. The content that you run within your event on Obvio is your responsibility. So So just to make that clear. But yeah, hopefully someday. I mean, there's been the whole TikTok thing where whoever it was that pulled all of their licensing out of TikTok and just has made a big problem with music, and they've just got greedy, and but then artists are not getting paid enough, and like this, it's a massive mess. So hopefully one day it'll get clearer, particularly when we're BMI. Thank you, Robbie. BMI license is what I found, meetings and events. But I couldn't tell you 100% that truly covers what we're doing in Zoom and our events. But it seems like a good thing to have up your sleeve if you were going to be playing out the different music. My friend had his own music shut down his events. He's a composer. Yeah, it's challenging.
Grant, how do they even know those things? Like, if I were to download some songs, put them in a loop, and play them on my event, how do they find out?
Because you post the recording, and that's how they find out.
Oh, but what if you don't post the recording?
Well, that's a problem with the strategy, because if people can't get to your recordings, if they're not able to be there, part of the strategy is bringing people back based on who were not able to attend and giving them replays. So you have to be careful with that, because that's part of maximizing people converting on your high ticket offer. Now, if you're using Obvio for meetings and stuff like this that's not recorded, sure. But most of us are here because we want to sell our high ticket offers. And recordings are a big part of the strategy of making sure our high ticket offers convert.
So, Kat, the thing is that you wouldn't include those songs in your recordings if you were providing them for people anyway. So I totally get it. What you're getting at legally is whether it's legal or not. How would I get caught? That's the question you're asking. So you could apply that to lots of things. I mean, I can steal all sorts of things and not get caught. If that's the way we're going to run. Anyway, there is. Thank you, Robbie.
Just learned a lot about you, Grant, right now.
Yeah, exactly. So there's BMI, and there's ASCAP, and they both have different licensing and things like that. But as I said, I'm not giving you legal advice because.
Who does know a lot about this is Nancy Hand. If anybody wants that information legally, just leave her. She's worked in this field for a long time.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to questions. So that's about music. I think that was Steve. That was your questions. All right. All right, Jane, is this the platform for me to ask for help on my POD questionnaire point of
the pod, like being in pods with people?
Oh yes, okay. I gotcha.
And so I registered for LEAP with my J Newman 2 at ua.edu, and because it was a Google form I had to fill out, it used my Gmail, Jane at drjanelearning.com.
Okay.
And now it won't let me submit it. And I don't know. I tried to erase the whole thing, delete the whole thing, and I still have my name. I still have the email on there, and it won't submit.
Yeah. Okay. It's not quite the place to get help on that specifically around Leap.
Okay.
I would email the Sage support,
Okay.
and they'll be able to get
I
you.
put the link in the chat,
Yeah,
Okay.
or the email address.
there you
Okay.
go.
Thank you.
Leap it powered by Sage. Yeah, and I have seen that before. The when you're logged in to Google, like you're logged into Google and you go to a Google form and it's saying this is your email, and it may not be the email that you want.
Yeah.
One way around that is to use an incognito window, like to open another browser window, incognito or private, and now you're not logged into anything, and then you can go back to that form and it won't be logged in. You can put in whatever email you want. So that could be something that helps, but the Leap support will totally help you to get that sorted.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Is it Jeannie? Janie? I don't know how to say that. Does Obvio provide a sales page template? If not, what's a good compatible software to use? Yeah, so this is where we're building out our marketplace system for selling tickets, and so it's still not quite ready. One of the things that we're tweaking on that is how fast the page loads is really key, particularly when you start selling ads to a marketing page. Google is going to rate how fast that loads, and that can determine a lot about the traffic that it gets. And so it's really important that we optimize the speed at which that sales page loads, so that it's going to work well. That's where we're at the moment. So we're very close to our marketplace version 2. Feels like version 20 now, but we're very close to that rolling out. So at the moment, we don't have a way of selling tickets on Obvio, which is partly why we have all those integrations as well. So there are all the integrations with the different CRMs that do have the ability to create selling product pages and things like that, where you can sell something and then tag a person that's tied to Obvio. Obvio receives that tag, and now we know that person is able to access whatever you've set up for them to do, whether it's just accessing the event or it could be VIP or things like that. So it's coming very soon, and what we hope to have as well is the ability to take an example page, like in the same way we have the demo data in the template. So the way that works, we want to do that the same way with the marketplace, so that you could have some demo data that sort of shows what you could do with the marketplace, with buttons and purchasing options and things like that. So it's coming. All of the CRMs that we have integrations for all have the ability to sell products or sell services and things like that. And so even MailChimp, I had a MailChimp system going where people could purchase on their MailChimp page. It adds them as a subscriber, adds the tags that they've purchased, all of that syncing through to Obvio. Obvio then knows that they're able to access the event. So you can pick one of those and make it happen. Cool. Yvette, what does it typically set? What data is typically sent back from Obvio to High Level or other CRMs? The data sent back from Obvio will be the attendee data. So you will get back sort of first name, last name, email, the absolute basics, as well as the magic link. So the link to get people into their dashboard. So that's their unique link, and that's the big advantage. That's what we're trying to avoid. Otherwise, you could just send an email out to everyone saying this is the password to get to to the event. We're avoiding the login process altogether. They click that link, it takes them straight to the dashboard, logged in as them, and away it goes. So that's the key parts of the data that goes back. It will also include groups and tags, depending a little bit on which integration, but it includes tags going back to make sure that they're all in sync, so that all the data about your attendees are included. Let's see here. Pam Courtney, is there an intro Obvio video that explains how the platform works, benefits of hosting an event on Obvio for those who want to host events for clients? That feels more like a marketing video more so than a how-to or an explanation. So I was talking before about last week. I did a 45-minute walkthrough of the whole platform. Now, that would tell everything people want to know, except with what you're talking about, you want to kind of sell the platform to people that don't need to ever use it, that don't need to actually know how to make it work. They just want to know what the features are. We're not too far away from a marketing site that will show all the benefits of that. It's kind of amazing how long we've been going without any marketing site, and in fact, Stripe is on our back at the moment because we don't have one. They're like, so you're selling things, and like you're getting money in, and you're selling some sort of platform or service, and yet you've got no site that tells people how that works. And so we're needing to build that out, and then that would be helpful for you to be able to send on to clients and say, this is what it does. And I've often thought about sort of a 2-3 minute video, 5-minute video that just says this is what Obvio does, that could help you. But I mean, I think you probably Pam, you for sure know the benefits yourself about what it does. But we tend to talk about how it's a password-free login process that's still secure and tied to individuals. It's access to Zoom Enterprise, so that you're getting Zoom Enterprise included, which gives you unlimited cloud recording and full HD video and 100 breakout rooms and things like that. That all are the key things to what you get with Obvio, as well as ultimately you are a sizzle Obvio video. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it totally is that. And one of the big things is that ultimately it's a home for your event before, during, and after you're in Zoom. And so now you've got a place that people go to before they get into Zoom, which is branded exactly the way you want it. It's not restricted in that branding. It's not branded Obvio, like it really is exactly how you want it, so that you can match it to the collateral that you already have for your event. You can match that exactly and customize that experience. So anyway, I don't need to sell Obvio to you guys. You're already in. All right. Intro Obvio video. Yep, beautiful. Okay. Amy, Zoom question. I have had issues with speaker and microphone in Zoom meetings, Vision Lab, and a meeting today. Zoom is not recognizing my mic or speaker. Interesting. So is it working now? Have you just been sitting here the whole time not listening? You're just like, I wish I could hear this.
Well, I figured out that if I put earphones on, it works.
And then this morning I had a coaching session and neither of us could get our microphones or audio to work.
Right.
And after it was, we ended up doing it over the phone with Zoom. Like
Oh,
we were
wow.
talking to each other through the phone.
Yeah.
But then when I got done, I logged out and logged back in and everything worked. And I thought that was odd that I was having those problems yesterday and with different computers, not just one. So
Okay.
even if I switched computers, it wasn't
So you switched
recognizing the
computers, but
audio.
you were using the same, was it the same headset or microphone system that you were using?
Just the computer microphone and system. I didn't have a microphone.
Oh, nothing
plugged into
connected?
it. Yeah,
Nothing
nothing
connected.
connected. No.
Okay.
And we were getting nothing.
And so, and you were connecting to computer audio so that you were connected. Is that right? Or
Yeah.
that's a trap to start with, right? Is at first, if you don't have that, often yet we have that sort of preset on the first time you get into Zoom and you say always join computer audio. But you can see when people connect and there's no microphone next to their name that they haven't connected to audio at all. But it definitely had that for both of you.
Well, and my microphone, I could, in the bottom left corner, you could see the microphone, but there was like an asterisk on top of it.
And then you couldn't select anything.
You couldn't select anything. And yesterday in Vision Lab, I think when it happened was I had to take a break for a meeting and then came back and ended up in a breakout room. And when I went to the breakout room, I couldn't unmute myself. I couldn't talk to them. And I was getting a message that I had to ask somebody to unmute me, but there wasn't anybody to do that. And it's been happening off and on since then. So I don't know.
Do you know?
If I could chime in, I had the exact same problem when Zoom came out with this new AI transcription thing. And it makes it so you have to click like 6 buttons before you can actually connect to audio. Like even when I logged in today, it's like I click, to connect to computer audio. But then another little blue one comes up that like if you're not paying attention and you don't click that, then your audio won't work, even though you already told it to connect. So you have to hit OK on that little blue button that pops up.
That could have been it. And I see Muddy dropped in the chat that he's had that happen. And if you restarted the computer, it fixed it because of flaky Windows.
I was gonna, I was gonna say that, and it sounded like that's what worked for you. Is that? Do you mean that you tried turning it off and on again, and it worked? But
I really just logged back into Zoom, but into the same meeting through Obvio, and it worked. So,
do you know often the case with troubleshooting is that it's even more complex when it's layered, when there's different issues that are layered, and that's when we really get caught, is that we're chasing after one cat and there's a whole nother one that is the main issue, right? And if only those cats could go to a chiropractor, then they would be
there you go. They'd be easier to handle. Exactly.
But so in this instance, I think that what we're hearing is the same types of things. Like I think what Muddy and Bill are saying is totally right, because what we've seen recently, I've seen that too, Bill, where now they're saying there's a little warnings that are popping up that need to be hit OK to be able to join audio down just above the microphone. And then there's also a new one that will pop up about live streaming. And so if it's recording and it's live streaming, and there's now the AI recording stuff, is that there's kind of all these places now. It used to just be right in the middle, front and center, and now they're kind of hiding it off in these other places that are not obvious. So I think it could be that, and it also can be, I was going to say the same as Muddy, where there's times where it's just like, oh, Zoom suddenly now can't see my audio devices at all, and so it's not even giving me an option to join audio because there's no devices that it can attach to. And so a restart, starting Zoom again, things like that could bring it up. But the fact that you both had, and I would argue that both of you may have had slightly different issues as to why you couldn't connect, and it's just the coincidence that you're not
We're
able
in the
to at
same
the
meeting.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's not ideal, and I'm sorry you're having that experience.
It was
and this
fun
this
and
is the-
interesting for sure.
well, and this is the thing that we're stuck
So to
with.
make it even better was, we were talking through the phone, and the whole time we're talking to the phone, my earphones are still plugged into the computer. So
Right.
I didn't record any of the audio through
Of
Zoom
course.
because it couldn't hear it.
Yes, of course.
Anyway,
I do, we're at the mercy sort of Zoom changes, and things that happen, and we just have to roll with them. But I will just say that and I know it's different with particularly one-on-one meetings and things like that. You often don't have a lot of time before, but particularly with events, we have built the way that we've done Obvio. We've really intentionally made it so that you can start those meetings early, and it's really important. We tend to work sort of 2 hours out. Ideally, what we're doing when we're starting an event day is 2 hours before we're starting everything. We're getting everything all working, and then the minus 1 hour is when you are just doing the final little tweaks, and you are totally show ready an hour out. When you do that, it takes so much stress out of your events. So that 2 hours out, if you're like, the audio's not connecting, something's not going right, you've got a bit of time to fix it, to do some restarts, or to find another solution or whatever. I'm just saying that in general, not necessarily for you, Amy, because I know you've done lots of events, but it's just good. It's good practice. I guess the point is that I don't think that there is anything that's dramatically changed, but I do think these little things are potentially affecting it.
so I think
Windows.
the bottom line is the more events you have, the more times you have opportunity to learn the nuances of the strange things that can happen.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when you are going into important things, particularly on Windows, reboots are really important. And any computer, just rebooting, having everything all clean, you haven't got a whole bunch of things open in the background, all of that stuff is.
I agree.
Exactly.
And one of the things,
when you are going
and I
into
don't know,
particularly on Windows.
and I don't know about everybody else, but even here, we have to make sure that we log out of our computers before we move them to a different room, because we're switching routers.
I see.
And that can be a problem too. That wasn't the situation this morning, but that is something that we run into every now and then too.
I get it. Yeah, well, I'll be interested if that happens again, whether these things, if there are some little buttons around, but I don't
We'll
know.
look for 'em.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the suggestions. I feel better knowing I'm not the only one having
Sure.
that issue. So
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
helpful. Thank you.
Great. Lee is asking, my Rode Wireless Go 2 single transmit and receive set is not functioning as I expected on record. I am unable to get Rode or the sales outlets to respond. Do you have any experience with a bug or a way of understanding if it's fixable? When I plug into the computer, Rode Central is saying it says no recording. Lee, are you still with us? No. So it's not functioning. It's pretty straightforward. If like as in connecting those, they tend to connect when you hold the buttons in, and as in you look at the manual, the quick start guide about how the sequence of connecting those. If you're following that and you're not getting, and it's not working, then yeah, something's wrong. And I don't understand why you couldn't get response from sales outlet. You should be able to get that replaced if it's faulty. The other thing about not recording, there's some interesting legislation around recording in the States, particularly. I'm assuming you're in the States. There's just some function that you can't quite do when it does work in other countries, but it doesn't work in some. And so that I could be going down a path that's incorrect, but I would look into that a little bit too, about what you're expecting to see in there about it recording or not recording. But the device is designed to be able to record when it's not connected, so that you still have a recording. So, but yeah, I would persist with Rode in getting some feedback from them, some support. Cool. Marty, I had a Rode system stop syncing and Rode replaced it for me. Sounds like a different issue, but sharing as a word of encouragement. Yeah, that Rode, that good Australian company, they would normally look after doing a swap out or something. Cool. I think we got to the bottom of our questions that were posted. So Bill asking about in the chat there, high-speed Wi-Fi router okay, or wired RJ45 or Ethernet from the wall, 1 gig fiber okay, or 2 gig fiber? It's nice that you've got that option. So let me just say, so it doesn't matter how good the Wi-Fi connection is, it still is a radio frequency conversion that's happening, and is not necessarily designed for the real-time communication that we have. And so in Zoom, like we're talking very low latency. So what you'll tend to find with Wi-Fi is that you'll just get little micro stutters, and it's kind of the sound might cut a little bit, or the video just freezes momentarily. So always having an Ethernet connection to your computer is the best way to run your events. It's a better experience for you, and it's also a better experience for all of your attendees. So now, of course, you have a great router. You want that to be able to do all the other stuff you do, but just when it comes to events, you want to have that Ethernet. 1 gig is way more than enough. And so that's totally fine. If you sort of work out what the bandwidth requirement is for Zoom, you could go up to about 10 meg. It's about 5 or 6 meg that you can send out. 6 megabit per second is about what you can send out maximum when you're sending HD video. And so that's what it's sending up. And then what you're receiving down depends on if you're looking at a whole gallery view, that can tend to increase. So as an example, I can see I've got, what is that, 9, 10, 12 gallery views, little galleries, and I'm using about 5 meg down. And see I'm using 5 meg up, and what I'm sending at the moment is only about 2 meg, and part of that is because of what's happening in what I'm doing. If I was sending full video that's going all the time, then that would increase to more. But as you can see, even with this gallery view, about 4 or 5 meg. It's probably not going to be more than 10 meg. And then your uploads, 6, so maybe 10. We always try to double to give ourselves lots of headroom. So if you had a 20 meg down, 20 meg up, you'd be happy. Instead, you've got 1,000 down, 1,000 up. So you're fine. I would never say you definitely need to go to 2,000 to make that work. So you're golden there. What I would be thinking more about than doubling your internet is redundancy. So then you start to think about, what if I had another connection that was separate, so that if your provider went down on your main one, you had the next one. And one of the things that I think about, I've got this bit of a program that I'm working on, thinking about all of the tech that is required to run our events. I'm thinking about it in terms of a body system and our sensors. But the first thing is our central nervous system, which is power and internet. And so what you want to think about when you're running your events is, what's the cost of failure? So you want to think about planning for rainy days, not for sunny days. When you start your event and you lose power or you lose internet, what happens to your event? What's the cost of failure at that point? What happens to your event? Likely, how much would you pay at that point to fix that problem? And if you can think about that and move that expense to before your event, then you're set up well. And so having a backup power and internet may seem like a luxury, but you just need to think, if you didn't have either one of those, how would your event go? And does it all hang on you? Because then you can also have other backup strategies that are not technical. And it could be that it's a programmatic backup strategy. And that is, you've got someone that is sitting in your Zoom event that's ready to jump in for you if you get disconnected for any reason. And now they can continue on, and they can say, they can just guide everyone and say, you know what, we're going to take a 30-minute break, or we're going to do a something. Meanwhile, you're going to your neighbor, or you're going somewhere to get connected again. But yeah, panicking. But at least you have the strategy in place so that you don't just lose everyone. And this is one of the difficulties, or the differences, arguably a negative difference for an online event, is how your audience experiences an outage. If you think about what happens in person, you're in a ballroom, and we've all seen it. Projector turns off, PA turns off, lighting turns off, whatever it is. No one's really that stressed. They're sitting there, they can see that there's a problem, whatever. We're sitting in the room together, it's no big deal. You have that happen in Zoom, it's like, okay, he was there, now he's gone. Now what? Like, now it's kind of a bit of panic sets in. It's sort of, I don't know what's going on. Is it me? Have I done something? Is my computer not working? And now I need to try to fix this. And everyone, all of your audience is panicking. Whether it's panic, a mild panic. But if you have someone that kind of comes in and says, okay, we've just got a little technical thing we're working on, but this is our plan now. We're going to go into some sharing groups. We're going to go into breakout rooms right now. It doesn't have to be a break. We're going to do breakout rooms and do sharing while we get this sorted. That just brings everyone back in, controls it, and away you go. So there's lots of things about that nervous system of the power and internet. It doesn't matter how good your camera looks, if your internet's not working, then there's no point, right? So, Ethernet all the way, and 1 gig is totally fine if that's what you're truly getting. If you're getting a good connection, then you're sweet. And so you could look at like having a cellular backup, and sometimes that can just be as simple as connecting your phone to your computer in a way that if you lose internet on your main provider, it cuts across to your phone, and at least you're still connected. It's just something to think about, that you've got some plan there for the rainy day. You've brought an umbrella. Cool. Done that one. What we got here? Karen, she's just asking about the 45-minute walkthrough. I'll post that in the Facebook group today, so that you can see that. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Yeah,
Hey, Grant.
Marty saying, hey.
I saw a question from Martin in the chat about Zoom apps. Specifically, He was asking about music and timer, and sounds like timer may be something different from the others. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Yes, so Zoom apps in general require you to be logged in to Zoom. And so it requires the host to be logged into Zoom, and more times than not, requires all of your attendees to be logged into the Zoom app, so that it can tie all those things together. The way that we're using Zoom is not logged into the app, and we're able to launch, as the host, we're able to launch Zoom not logged in, and all of our attendees don't need to be logged into Zoom. And even if they are logged into Zoom, they are not tied with their email that they're logged into Zoom. They're tied into a registration email that we have set up. And so that means that generally Zoom apps don't currently work. Having said that, an exception seems to be that the timer can work. You can make the timer work because it can kind of just appear on your video. And so by all means, you can play around with that and have that timer working. But generally, any of the other things that seem all fancy and whatever, when you go to try to use them, they often error out because you're not actually logged into Zoom. And if you are seeing it, you might get this weird crossover land where you are logged into Zoom and it's trying to use your account with an Obvio meeting, and that's not going to work either. So I got very excited early on with Zoom apps, where I was really trying to make it work with there's guest mode and things that we're trying to do. And I need to relook at it again to see if there's anything else that we can do on that. But the ultimate would be that we could have a mini version of the dashboard in Zoom, and that's why I keep exploring it and keeping my eye on it, because that would be kind of amazing.
That would be cool. So one of the workarounds we've used is to go out and get a timer off of YouTube and put it in the slideshow,
right,
as a video.
Yeah.
And so when it's time to take a break, that's the slide that comes up, and you just click the go button and you walk out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That does not work for when you have breakouts, and that's the one that I need the timer mostly for.
Oh, so you need it in your breakout rooms. Okay.
Yeah, to remind people of how long they have in the breakout room for the breakout sessions. It's really nice so that people can keep their whatever they're doing succinct, and that's where the timer app is kind of cool. The music app is just cool because it makes it easy to play music, but there are ways around that. You can just share your screen, and it just makes it easier, but we can work around that right now. You just share your screen and play your desktop music.
Muddy can tell you how to do timer in breakout room now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actually, when you...
That sounds like a Muddy video coming up soon. Hint, hint.
All right, good call. Maybe it is. But when you go to set up breakout rooms, there's a button to choose options, breakout room options. It's where you would select things like automatically send people into the room, allow them to return to the main session at any time. There's a number of different options. One of those options says automatically close the breakout rooms after X amount of minutes. And if you put a number in there, if you say 10 minutes, for instance, and when you select that option, you actually get a sub option below that that says notify me when time is up. And I would recommend typically for this that you would turn that on as well. Because if you don't turn that on, what happens is when it gets to the predetermined time, let's say 10 minutes, it automatically closes the room and brings everybody back. So you, as the host, really don't have the chance to let the rooms go a little longer. But if you choose the option that says notify me when the time is up, they won't actually close automatically. The timer will get to 0, but it'll just bring up a little thing that says your time is up. Do you want to close the rooms? And it's waiting for you to say yes before you close it. But by choosing that option
awesome.
to
I
say,
didn't know that happened. Yay.
yeah, by saying automatically close after certain minutes, it puts a timer at the top of the window for everybody while they're in their breakout rooms. And it's a countdown timer, so they can see how much time is left.
Cool.
Oops, there you go.
And I still say that's like the best next Muddy video, because Muddy, I've been stalking you on all your channels, so I'm just waiting for my Muddy video. I'm just putting it out there.
You go.
And I normally would be on camera, but I'm literally rebuilding my computer, and the camera has not been rebuilt on this machine, so I'm not hiding from y'all.
Fair enough. All good. Cool. Just checking. I'm just giving people a warning that the questions are drying up, which means that we might be finishing up soon. Ask if you want to close all rooms 2 times. Yeah, you're right, Christina. It does ask twice. Are you sure? Are you sure? You sure? Are you sure? You sure? You sure? Yeah, and it's funny, the larger events, work on a larger event that does breakout rooms, often for an hour or an hour and a half, and we actually like to not have it notify because it's working to a strict schedule, and so we just want, and we have multiple meetings, and we want them all to synchronize and sort of close at the same time. So breakout rooms are highly powerful. We use them all the time for all sorts of different things. So. Cool.
Bruce, what's up?
Okay.
Got a question for you.
Go.
So actually, I wanted to flag that Miriam called out a potential bug on the town hall template, not actually the template, but the demo page, the sample site. There's an option to let's see what the sample site looks like. And it just returns a 404 error. I confirmed I got the same thing. But actually, I was thrilled to hear that the town hall template is out there, which I was not aware of.
Yeah, so that you would have seen that if you saw the TVE, the virtual event on virtual events dashboard, that was town hall. It's really cool. We really like it. It's particularly sort of for a big hero shot, the town hall idea that maybe it's a personality or something like that. You could really have a nice big hero shot and then a couple of buttons, and you've got a couple of other buttons you can put there as well. And so, we really like it. But the demo data just needs to be tidied up, to make that work. And so I wasn't sure that we had gone fully live with it because we would have waited until we had the demo data. But anyway, it seems like we are. So the trick for you is to go and create an event with it, and then even if we turn it off, you'll still have it. So but I'm going to check in on that. Thanks for raising that. That's good. Cool. Let me switch. I've already chosen it. Yes. Tamara, it won't. That the templates really vary quite a lot, and the town hall template varies quite a lot from the other ones. And so the idea of being able to switch that to another one literally takes us to design what we're going to copy and what we're not going to copy, and that hasn't been done. And so I would always suggest that you don't try to be switching around templates, but have versions of the different events with the different templates that you can play around with, and be sure of the one that you want to use before you select it. And so then this is the exact one I want to use, and I won't be switching it from that. So
it's all good. I'll rebuild. I've been wanting it for one specific event that I've used in the past, so I will make a new one for it. Thank you, though.
Nice, no worries. All right, Karen, what platform would you recommend to build a website? Depends. Depends what functionality you use. Do you know? I've been building websites for years, and I've used Squarespace a lot. I really like Squarespace. Particularly good for events because it runs in a particular server cache, which will never go down. So if you're running like a WordPress site or something, and then you throw a couple of hundred people or 1,000 people at it, it'll slow down and might even crash it. Whereas a more static sort of website, particularly if it is static, then using something like Squarespace is a good option. What I recently used was Canva. I was able to build a site out in Canva and host it on Canva. And it was a very simple static site that I needed, and it works great. I was able to give it to the client to make changes, and you know how easy Canva is to use. So now they don't have to know WordPress and all the different weird things with WordPress. They simply just go to Canva. What you see is what you get. Done. Publish. Very easy. So I recommend that. And then if you're doing more complex stuff, then the websites that you'll build out with the CRMs might be more event-based that you might like, because you might want to have calls to action and signing up to things or buying things or purchasing tickets or all of that. So they all have the ability to create those websites. Cool. All right. This might be your last call for any questions. Oh, there's one, Pam. What about SEO, best SEO tips to get ranked in Google? Wow. Now we're getting way off topic now. I'm certainly not a search engine optimizer, but it's talk about chasing cats, right? This is kind of like that. The more that you think that you're on top of it, Google is always a step ahead. And so if you think that you can game the system to make ranking work better, it's only short-lived. So what I will say though is that there are certain strategies to get the right data being picked up by Google. And so wherever you have the sites where you can put in specific descriptions and like image, alternate image text, things like that makes the site more accessible. All of those are just good practice. So I don't like any of the hacks that are like, you do this and that's going to get you to the top. I'm like, just build a good quality website with good content that's really clear and straight to the point about your product or your service, and then it's going to get picked up well. And when you make a good site with good content and people are linking to it and they appreciate it, that's when Google picks it up, because Google is always just trying to surface the best actual websites, not just the ones that have done some hackery to get it to work. So focus on good content, good website building practices with making it accessible. Google will read that really easily, and I think your ranks will work. And certainly doesn't hurt to put some ads in. And when you do some ads on Google, and you get some of those ranking things I was talking about before that we're working on with Marketplace, the speed at which your website loads and that sort of thing, particularly when you start doing ads, it'll really reveal how good your website is and what it needs. So there you go. Thank you, Elaine. Has been fun. Cool. I think we're going to call it. So 5 p.m. next Wednesday. Join us again. Catch us in the Facebook group and help@obv.io, and also the little chat option in the admin. You can catch us live, generally through Eastern business hours. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.